what's up, witches? I'm Allie the Bronx Witch, and thank you for checking out my contribution to the first official Witches Sabbat. The theme is summoning, and I thought I would give you guys a brief introduction into drawing down the moon, as that's the most important type of summoning that happens in my personal practice. This ritual has done a lot for me as a practitioner, both in terms of helping me to connect with divine feminine energy and also to help me realize that divine feminine energy already resides within me. Drawing down the moon has taught me that summoning is just as much about activating the power inside of us as it is about accessing the wells of power that exist outside of us. The Oxford Dictionary tells us that summoning is the act of authoritatively or urgently calling on someone or something to be present. Magically speaking, this is the act of calling on a spirit entity, such as an ancestor, a guardian, or a deity, in order to honor them or to ask for their assistance in a magical working. Summoning in a magical context often happens in one of two forms: evocation or invocation. There are differing schools of thoughts on how to define these terms, but the distinction that I have come to understand is based on Aleister Crowley's explanation that to invoke is to call in and to evoke is to call forth. Meaning more simply that invocation means to call in a spirit and invite it within your actual body, whereas evocation is the act of calling in a spirit to be present in your space. Invoking a spirit entity into your body is a very intense experience, as you can imagine. In this video, I'm going to be focusing in on evocation, as that's true to my practice, and because if you're new to witchcraft or to summoning spirits, evocation is the type of summoning that I encourage you to explore first. The drawing down the moon ritual is a common practice in most Wiccan traditions, but it is certainly not exclusive to Wiccan witches. Many pagans and or witches engage in some kind of ritual intended to call in or call forth divine feminine energy, using the moon as the astrological catalyst for this process. When performed in a more formal coven environment, the high priest invokes the goddess's energy into the body of the high priestess. The high priestess serves as a vessel for the goddess's energy, and she may be moved to chant, sing, dance, divine, or in some other way express that energy in service to and in celebration with her coven mates. In a solitary environment, obviously the practitioner is working alone and would therefore both summon the goddess's energy and receive it. For this reason, I recommend focusing your intentions on evoking rather than invoking the goddess when working as a solitary or when just beginning to work with this practice. But that is personal. Either way, whether working in a group or alone, there are many ways to approach and conduct this ritual. And there are many versions of the charge of the goddess, an incantation originally written by Doreen Valiant that makes up the central spoken part of the ritual. You can find versions of the ritual and versions of the charge of the goddess from many excellent sources, or you can write your own. I've included some references along with this video. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you the basic components of a drawing down the moon ritual. In my own practice, I use a fairly simple ritual of my own construction, and I read a version of the charge of the goddess adapted by Starhawk that's quite a bit shorter and simpler to recite than some of the older versions like the one found in the Gardnerian Book of Shadows. Before I share my drawing down the moon ritual steps, I wanted to briefly touch on why we bother with this practice and why it's become such an important part of my personal practice. The ritual and the charge of the goddess on a large scale aim to bring honoring of divine feminine energy back into the forefront of spiritual practice. Judeo-Christian values have very much removed the goddess from the question of spirituality. But on an individual level, the ritual and the charge help you, no matter your gender identification or biological sex, to realize and recognize that divine feminine energy is contained within you. And for me, evoking goddess energy into my space and realizing that the energy that I was feeling around me is the same energy that I was feeling inside of me was, not to seem dramatic, life-changing. Here's how I draw down the moon during my full moon S-spots. I begin by cleansing and clearing myself and my space. I won't go into depth about this because there are a million ways to cleanse yourself and your space, and I trust that you either have or are developing your own way of doing this. But if you'd like to see how I cleanse my spiritual items, my altar space, and myself, I have a few videos on my YouTube channel, BronxWitch, that cover my approach. Once I'm all cleansed, I move on to casting a circle and calling the quarters. And I do this to create a space that is protective and that allows me to let in the energy of the goddess only and to keep anything else out. With this protective circle established, I now light my silver candle and hold my bowl of water to the sky, lining it up with the moon as best as I can. For me, the bowl of water serves as a beacon or a receptacle even for the energy that I'm bringing into my space, as water is a great conductor of energy. I focus on the light of the moon filling the water in the bowl, saturating every molecule from the center to the edges, and I allow myself to feel my circle filling in the same way as I recite the charge of the goddess. Listen to the words of the Great Mother, who of old was called Artemis, Astarte, Dion, Melusine, Aphrodite, Caradwen, Diana, Aaronrod, Breed, and by many other names. Whenever you have need of anything, once in the month, and better when the moon is full, you shall assemble in some secret place and adore the spirit of me, who is Queen of all the wise. You shall be free from slavery, and as a sign that you be free, you shall be naked in your rights. Sing, feast, dance, make music and love, all in my presence, for mine is the ecstasy of the spirit, and mine also is joy on earth. For my law is love unto all beings. Mine is the secret that opens upon the door of youth, and mine is the cup of wine of life. That is the cauldron of Caradwen, that is the holy grail of immortality. I give the knowledge of the Spirit eternal, and beyond death I give peace and freedom and reunion with those that have gone before. Nor do I demand aught of sacrifice, for behold, I am the mother of all things, and my love is poured upon the earth. When I'm done and I'm surrounded by the energy of the goddess, I can simply embrace that energy and honor it, or I can use that energy to help me cast a spell or to do some divination. When I'm done, I'll thank the goddess and release her, reminding myself that her energy is always a part of me and can be called on and activated at any time. I'll ground and center through meditation and move on to wrapping up the larger S-spot ritual. In Spiral Dance, Starhawk says, the primary principle of magic is connection. The universe is a fluid, ever-changing energy pattern, not a collection of fixed and separate things. What affects one thing in some way affects all things. All is interwoven into the continuous fabric of being. It's warp and weft our energy, which is the essence of magic. I thank you for tuning into this video about drawing down the moon. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at BronxWitch, and blessed be.